Hi everyone. Welcome to this fortnightly session. Providing practical updates on cost of living support and other wider holistic support that's available across the council and with our partners. So we've got a few people speaking today. Max has come along from the Second Chance Cafe. He's going to talk about that service, and then Abby is going to talk briefly about some funding available for voluntary sector organisations working with parents. And I think Marcella was going to come along and talk, but I think she's got a meeting clash. So after the presentation, we'll move on to the open forum discussion, and perhaps bring Seth and Tom in as well. I'll hand over to Max, and thanks for coming along.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak. Can you guys hear me all right? All right, great. I'm gonna try to present. I got some slides here. Okay, let's see. Oh, entire screen, there we go. All right, are you seeing that?
We're not, no.
Can't see. I might have to.
If you click when you get to
permissions.
Oh, okay. I've got your slides if you want me to share them. And
if you could do that, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no worries. Let me just
open it
up. It's only allow me to open as a Google Doc, which isn't really going to work. What's happening when you go on to share screen?
I just haven't used Google Meet before, so it's saying I need the permissions to. I think I might have to log out and log back in.
Okay. To be fair, I think
by doing that,
I've got them. I think the way I've got them will actually be all right. So I'll share my screen, and you can tell me if it's sort of big enough. Can you see the slides?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great.
A little small, but that's fine. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so sorry, I'll just get going. So I'm Max. I'm the development manager of the Second Chance Cafe. We're a community cafe in Stoke Newington in Hackney. And so I'll just go on to the next one. Here's a little bit just the basic information about what we are. We opened kind of during COVID, especially that was a time when everyone realized the need for the community to come together. And that's kind of what this was born out of, was the need to kind of create a community space for people to come together. So it's open to the public, anyone can come. There's no need to pre-book or anything like that. And people can just turn up and have a hot meal. So we're open every Thursday and Friday from 11 to 2 for lunch. And it's pay as you feel or pay what you can. So people can have a free meal, they don't have to pay anything. And all the payments are made anonymously in envelopes. So people, we don't even know who's paying what or if anyone's paying at all. So that allows us to kind of treat everyone the same. No one gets special treatment. It's just everyone's just treated equally, and everyone is invited. So it's at the St. Mary Center in Stoke Newington, next to the big church, right beside Clissold Park. So that's that. And our mission, it's kind of three things all at once, and I see them all as kind of supplementing and supporting each other. So there's the community building, which I talked about. There's also the reducing food waste. So we get all our veg from local shops that donate upcycled fruit and veg that would otherwise get thrown away. So we're saving there and saving both expenses, but also saving food waste. And then alleviating food poverty. So with the cost of living crisis, this has become more and more important. People can come and have a free meal if they need it, or just a reduced cost meal, whatever they feel comfortable paying. So what we do. So first thing, the obvious thing is it's a cafe, so we have food. We take the fruit and veg that turns up each week that gets donated from a variety of shops that I'll get to in later slides. And we make it into whatever we can. So usually it's veggie soups. We get bread donated from bakeries. We take fruit and turn that into crumble, cakes, smoothies, whatever we can. And we want it to be something that's welcoming, homemade, fresh, kind of nutritious as well, filling, all of those things. And you can have as much as you want, and you can also take away more for later. I mean, there are times that we run out, unfortunately. It depends on what we get donated, but we try to be as kind of giving as possible and not put any limits on what people can take. Then part two, it's not just about the food, so that's the obvious one, but there's also the hospitality element. And that's a really important thing, I think, is just being a space where people can feel welcome, where like the Cheers thing, where everybody knows your name, kind of. Not necessarily, some people would rather be anonymous, and that's fine too. So it's not like you're forced to come in and sit at a big table and share your whole life story, although some people want to do that, and that's great. They have the opportunity to chat with their other guests at communal tables or with the volunteers who are encouraged to kind of sit and chat. But they can also sit at a solo table by themselves. So we have the variety there. And yeah, it's just nice. It's nice for me as a volunteer serving to have people know my name, and I know it's the same with other people. Everyone likes to go to a place and have someone remember them or remember their order or be able to prepare their tea the way they like it, that kind of thing. So that's an important part of it as well. And then the other thing is it's not just the meal. We're also trying to be a hub for people, so they can, often people come in and if they are suffering from food poverty, they have lots of other resources that they might want to, they might be able to take advantage of. So we have a signposting guide that all the volunteers are kind of trained to use, and we want to make sure we're being proactive about making sure people get those resources if they need them. There's a lot of, we're just a cafe, we can't do everything, we can't fix all people's problems, but we at least can point them in the right direction and connect them with the people who can help them. So then we also have job training. There are a lot of people who want to get a job in a restaurant maybe, but never worked in one, so they can come and work in a kind of commercial kitchen and practice and get a job, get a reference, get experience for their CV, that sort of thing. Also just more informal skill share kind of things we do among the volunteers. So someone's like really good at arranging flowers, so she did a flower arranging demonstration. Just fun things like that. And then art therapy, we have an art therapist who comes and does kind of a free expression table. We do clothing drives, just all sorts of things. People come up with ideas, and we're always we always want to say yes and try to encourage that. Thanks, John. This is just a little map of how I see it as like a meeting place among different parts of the community. So there's the individual community members, like the volunteers and the guests, but then there's also the local business partners, local other charity organizations or nonprofits, and then local government, and they all kind of come together in the cafe in various ways. So that's what I'll get into now. So starting with the guests, as I said, we're open to the public. We get about 100 guests a day, but it really varies. This season, it starts to tick up usually in the autumn and winter because it's soup season, and also just people, I think, want to get out of the cold, so there's that as well. And usually it's mostly regulars, but it varies. We always are adding new people, spreading usually by word of mouth, and people come from all over. and sometimes they're coming just because they need a free meal, but other times they want to chat. They sometimes need something else like a food bank voucher or all sorts of maybe everything in between. So it really depends. And then our volunteers. So we have a rotating team of about right now 55 people. So it's ever growing, and there's always shifting where people sometimes find a job, which is great, and we need to fill in the gaps. So on any given day, we might have 15 to 20 people helping out in various ways. Some on site, like preparing, cooking, taking deliveries, washing up, all those sorts of things, helping in the front of house, clearing away. And then there's also remote stuff. So people who can't be there on a weekday, middle of the day, they want to help out in other ways. So maybe they do a delivery or pick up a donation the night before, or they do admin stuff, help with social media or bake cakes. That's another thing that people can do. And yeah, then some people come to us from social prescribing. They might just want a place where they can be with a group, and so they get referred from various other organizations or GPs to come. And we try to also give back to the volunteers. They're not just giving up their time, but they also get something out of it. So there's training courses for them on their conversation listening skills, or signposting, or allergen safety, food safety, that sort of thing. Next one, please. So then this is getting to our local business partners. So this is a lot of these local shops here who, like I said, are greengrocers who have veg that goes off every week and they can't get rid of it, and there's no point in throwing it in the bin. So they're happy to give it to us, and that saves us a lot of money in spending to go out and buy it ourselves. And then also it's good for them because then we turn around and try to spread the word about how good they are. So it's a win-win for them. And sometimes people can give back by going and shopping at that place. So they hear about them and then say, oh, I'd love to check them out. And then that's a way for them to get kind of free advertising as well. I don't think that's the main reason they do it. They just really are good people, but it's at least something we can do to give back. And then we get our coffee donated as well, flowers, everything. Then other partner organizations, so some people are on this call probably represented here, but this is just a selected list. There's a lot of other ones, but we do all sorts of collaborations with different organizations, anyone who has a shared mission with us. So if it's Mother's Manifesto with spreading awareness and protesting about child hunger in the UK, a warm space, so we're registered as a warm space where people can stay who are suffering from fuel poverty, and they often overlap with people who are suffering from food poverty. So it's something else we do in the colder months. We just started issuing SIM cards from the National Data Bank. We get volunteer placements from the Volunteer Center, Hackney. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things here, and we'd love to do more. Last couple slides here. So this is just something, because we're a pay what you feel donation-based cafe, one thing people always ask is like, where does the money go? How much do you make? What is my donation going towards? And it's an unusual system for some people who haven't worked with it before. So then we got the idea to just kind of put out all our income statements and just publish it every month, because we're proud of what we're doing and we don't feel like there's anything to hide. So better to kind of be open with it. So every month we put up the monthly kind of takings of how much we've gotten donated, where our money's come from, where it's all gone, and we all have a conversation about it. So it's a good conversation starter among guests, but also like volunteers. We have usually a monthly meeting where we all talk like, do we think that's a good use of our money? Are there better ways we can do that? And sometimes it comes up with ideas for how we can save. So someone will say, oh, we spent that much on flowers. Well, let's go find someone who will donate us flowers, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's that. And then our impact. So like I said, our missions are reducing food poverty, building community, and reducing loneliness. It's hard to really quantify those, but we try to collect as much data as we can to kind of understand if we're on the right track and how we can do better. So we collect how many guests we have. We just keep track of this every day and can see trends over time, and we see how we were affected by the cost of living crisis, kind of coinciding with an uptick in our guest count and a drop in our donations, and that's to be expected. And then we get qualitative feedback as well, so people will leave us if they can't leave money. Sometimes they'll leave us a little note, some feedback, and it's just good to get that kind of morale boost as well. And we're on the right track, or if there's something we can improve, we're happy to take ideas. So I think that's it. That's the last slide, and it's just more information. We have a website, secondchancecafe.co.uk. That's my email on there, and it's on the website as well. You can follow us on Instagram, or ideally, please come visit. So we're open every Thursday and Friday. So we were open today, we'll be open tomorrow. Please come say hi. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Max. That was great. Really, really good to hear about all the work you're doing. Does anyone have any questions for Max? Jenny, did you want to come in?
I always have questions, but I was waiting to see if anyone else was getting in there first. I thought it was a great, it's really great presentation, Max, and really helpful to see, you know, so many layers to what you do. There was a few things I was interested in. Your local business partnerships is something that we're really interested in how we can do more of. And is that happening just sort of on a local level, or have you been involved in kind of you know, borough-wide engaging with businesses? And I'm guessing because Stoke Newington, you've got quite a lot of quite wealthy people and quite a lot of fancy shops and cafes that you can, is it all just kind of going in and talking to people, or how have you managed to establish those relationships with local businesses?
Yeah, it's mostly just been word of mouth, sharing, you know, volunteer, mention it to the place they do their shopping. And funnily enough, I mean, maybe this isn't surprising, but most of our partnerships aren't with the posh shops on Church Street. It's local, little, small greengrocers and you know, not with Whole Foods, that kind of thing. Although we've tried, but it hasn't worked out. So
that's
not to say that we wouldn't be open to doing that, and there's probably room for more connection. We're always looking to make more connections, and we're not going to rule anyone out. And that's a big part of the cafe, is that everyone's welcome. It's not just one portion of the population. We want everyone to kind of have a place to sit across each other and have a conversation that they wouldn't normally be having, and that includes businesses. So no, it's all kind of just happened organically. We've looked into doing bigger things like going to the big shops like Tesco through Fair Share, and haven't found the need to do that yet, because we've been able to meet our demands with local shops. Every time we're about to exceed our capacity of our donations, we find some new donor partner. So for now, everything has been fine doing it that way.
Great. Oh, that's really, really interesting. The other thing I wanted to ask was what partnerships would you ideally like to develop? What do you find are more difficult? It sounds like you've got some really strong partnerships and that you're able to do quite a lot in terms of the kind of wraparound holistic support. But are there services that the residents need access to, that you're seeing or want access to, but are really struggling with, would like to develop stronger partnerships with? Just curious.
Yeah, a lot of just financial issues, like debt issues, where people come in, and if they're suffering from food poverty, there's usually a host of other issues that they need help with. And so that's one of the things that we're looking to strengthen, relationships with other organizations. And yeah, that's a big one. And then just housing is always difficult. So it varies. A lot of times also we have people who are undocumented or, migrants, and that can also be another wrinkle that is tough to work to figure out how to deal with. So those would be kind of the big ones, not surprising probably.
Yes. Oh, well, you're in the right place. I can see Pauline from the Money Hub got her hand up. So yeah. I'm going to stop now and hand over to Pauline.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi, all. Hi, Max. Thank you so much.
Pauline.
Useful. I wondered, can people just show up? Can we just direct people?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's totally open. So you don't have to pre-book, or there's no booking system. So it's just anyone's welcome anytime. Just show up between 11 and 2 on a Thursday or Friday. And you can have a meal. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, would you be interested in having sort of like a surgery maybe once a month where you invited people from, say, Money Hub, benefits, housing, that can answer questions for residents, in that spot, rather than having to be on the phone or go into the service centre.
That would be amazing.
I'd be happy to sort of work with you.
Please, yes. No, I think we've thought about something like that and never known exactly how to make that happen. So please, thanks for that offer.
Elderly people for pension credits. They're not
exactly.
People with disabilities might not know they're entitled to certain benefits, or they're struggling to get help to either make an appeal or make an application. We can talk about how we could work with you at doing something, maybe one,
Something like, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
Brilliant. Charlie, I think you were next.
Hi, Max.
Hi.
That was a great presentation. You mentioned that some.
It's very low, Charles.
Pardon? Can you not hear? Can you hear that? Is
It's
that
better now. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcelo. You mentioned that you were working with residents with refugee status. Do you have a relationship with Hackney Migrant Centre at all? Because they are based out of the same building sometimes.
Yes, we do. That works out really well that they're in the same center on a Wednesday, and then we're here on Thursday and Friday. So we do a lot of work together and referring clients to each other, and we have volunteers who work with them and with us as well. So there's a lot of overlap. Thanks for that, though. They're amazing. They are stretched very thin, though. That's the problem. There's a lot of need for their services. So it's difficult sometimes to help as many people as they have, but they're amazing, the work they do. So.
Penny, did you want to come in?
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Penny.
at the half of your presentation. I had connection issues, so I caught the last end of it, and it sounds amazing, the work that you're doing. I'd love to connect further, and maybe any beneficiaries where you feel like that you can't support, that our services may be able to help. I've put my number in the chat, so you can pass on my number to them, and I'll see how much more I could help them in them areas. But if you want, we can have a call separately, so I can tell you what we offer. It would be easier. Not like I want to do a presentation.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes, please. I guess I don't know if you were able to catch my contact details at the end of the presentation, but
sorry.
Potentially it's just the secondchancecafe.co.uk, the website.
Yeah.
Or if you just Google Second Chance Cafe.
Maybe I could pop down one day when I'm in the area and
that's the easiest.
Yeah.
Please. So any Thursday or Friday, and I'm here morning till evening, so the cafe is open for lunch, but I'll be here outside of that if you'd like to meet.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks. Great.
And I'll be sharing Max's slides as well in the newsletter, so you'll all have all the info and the contact details if you missed anything. So yeah, you'll all have that. Claire.
Thanks.
Hello, I just love what you're doing. I would definitely love to talk to you as well, because I know Stoke Newton pretty well, and actually could probably give you some good connections down there that might help with what you're doing. Also, we're at Barton House GP practice, and so just literally last week we had Macmillan coffee mornings, and we raised £1,000 within the community. So maybe we could do something like that with yous as well, because you're local and it's great. We could set some stuff up together. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yeah, it's very great.
Amazing. Penny, you still got your hand up. I don't know if that's from before or you wanted to come back in. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, great. Does anyone else have any other questions or offers that they want to make, Max? If not, then we can move on to Abby. But yeah, thank you so much for that, Max. That was fantastic, and glad you've been able to make some connections in this meeting as well. That's what it's here for. So thanks very much for coming along. Abby, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, John. Max, great presentation. Love to hear what Second Chance Cafe is doing. And you might have a lot of visitors coming, just saying.
Perfect.
So, hi, everyone. I'm here to share an opportunity that the Children and Families Hub shared with us this week, an opportunity for funding. And I don't have as nice of a slide deck prepared, but I'll share this document in the chat as well. So this should be available to open, and so the links and everything will be live to everyone. But there's a funding opportunity that has come up with the Solihull approach to parenting, and it's something that's in development with Hackney and the Children and Families Hub's work. But it's really aimed at organizations that are doing work with families and with children that are 2 years or under, to develop training and services that aims to improve the quality of the parent-infant relationships. And you can read more there. There's also a quick Google will give you the more in-depth information on the approach. But the reason why we're bringing it up here is that there is an informational session on this tomorrow. It's there in the middle of this document. So tomorrow, Friday, 20th of October, from 2 to 3:30, the team who's putting this together will be giving a short presentation on the opportunity, a summary of the procurement process, and a space for asking questions and discussing the opportunity as well. So I know that there are some for organizations doing this work, there are some considerations when seeking and accepting funding, especially when it has to do with a specific approach. One thing that was flagged for us is that it is for programs that are running this approach or that have the opportunity to partner. So partnerships are also available. I don't know too much more beyond what was shared on this page with us, but if you do have questions, Angela Birch and Sky Bailey can be reached out to with questions, and their contact information is in the document that I shared. And I'll also just pop in the relevant links in case there is any issue with opening the Google Doc, that you'll have links in the chat here on the call as well. But I can pause and just gather any questions at this point that I might be able to even refer back to the team with anyone who might have questions right now.
I hadn't actually heard of the Solihull approach. Do you know much more about it, Abby, other than what's on the Google Doc? Because I actually don't know what it is, to be honest.
I don't know either, but I did. I just sent the link to the website that I was able to pull up earlier. That's got a little video there and some more information on that. So it really is about a different approach to the quality of the parent-infant relationship, it seems, but there would be specifics on that training and what the opportunity is. But it sounds like there's quite a bit of funding available, and that this is a tender that's been open nationally, but it's really based in Hackney, and there aren't very many Hackney voluntary community organizations that have submitted tender so far. So our team in the Children and Families Hub was really hoping we could promote it to Hackney-based organizations. Yeah, Jenny, I see raised hand there.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think that with the commissioning from the Children and Family Hubs, I think that the Department for Education funding makes it really clear that they can only fund interventions that the Early Intervention Foundation have approved as an evidence-based intervention, which is probably why it has to be framed around the Solihull approach, because that would be one of those evidence-based interventions. But I think our voluntary and community sector partners who are working with parents and children under 2 are probably doing that kind of work naturally anyway, and it wouldn't be so it shouldn't put VCS organizations off if they don't recognize the wording, or if they, if they're not sure of what the approach involves, because any organization that's doing work to support that kind of that early relationship is probably doing things that would fit, that wouldn't take much to fit to that. I think that it just has to be, my understanding is that that's one of the challenges of the funding that's coming in, which is making it quite difficult for some of our local partners to apply, or might be putting them off. So I think it's great to have it here. And as I mentioned in the chat, I think those on the call will probably be quite well connected to others that work, even if they're not working directly with under twos, and parents might know of organisations that are. So it's well worth sending it around and getting people to the event, because if it does lead to some funding to support the work, then that would be fantastic. But it's a great, it'd be great to have more Hackney-based organisations commissioned through that. But it's a challenging timeline, isn't it? It's quite short notice, but thanks for bringing it, Abby.
Yes, one last note on that. So that's an informational session tomorrow. Angela had also mentioned that if tomorrow is too quick of a turnaround and someone is interested but not available to attend tomorrow's session, that there's an opportunity to have Friday the 27th as a session as well. And I think the best place to go with that is to her email address that I put in the chat and is listed on the document.
Perfect. Thanks, Abby.
Great.
Yeah, I'll put it out in the newsletter, because I think, the actual deadline for applications must be a bit in the future, I'm assuming. It's just the sort of the info session tomorrow. Okay, brilliant. Marcella has joined us. Marcella, did you want to come in and you are talking about the Community Energy Fund, I believe?
Yeah, so hi, hello everyone. Sorry I was late. I don't have a presentation or anything, but it's already on the newsletter that John sent last time. And I think I touched base very briefly on this last time I came in. But we are launching the second round of the Hackney Community Energy Fund in November. And it's grants to help community organizations to improve the energy efficiency of their buildings. So buildings that are used by the community, improve the heating, improve the insulation, and this kind of, potentially generate energy with solar panels. It is for organizations based in Hackney. They are non-profit, supporting residents in some kind of way. And you need to either own the building or have a long-term lease on the building, because some of the measures will have 25 years of, use. We're trying to make sure that they will be used. It's open to schools, to faith groups, and any community organization. We are working with other groups based in London and in Hackney to make sure that, there is a bit wider amount of money for organizations that might not be successful in the grant, that we can signpost them to other opportunities to get funding for energy assessments for buildings, for example, because I think a lot of people think, I'll put solar panels on my building, but there needs to be a whole research piece before you can do that. So our grant has two streams. One is for feasibility studies, where someone will come in, look at the building, fabric of the building, situation of the roof, to see what is possible within our building, in your building. And then there is a second phase of capital projects, where you get the money to install the measures that you would have investigated. I think we learned a lot from the Warm Spaces grant last year to try and really support applicants. So, I'll be making sure that we have drop-in sessions for people to come and ask questions, very informal. There will be support throughout the process for people to apply, and groups that have buildings to benefit from, they will be partnered with community energy groups. They're based in Hackney, also non-profit, and they are specialists in supporting organizations to improve their energy efficiency. And just to phrase that this is part of, Hackney Council's net zero program, but for organizations, it means lower bills, better experiences in your buildings, because you'll be able to manage better the control of the temperature, hopefully reduce the amount you give to energy companies. They're ripping everyone off. So we have a launch event in November. The details will be on the newsletter. Again, we encourage people to come, because as I said, of course, it's a grant scheme, so there is a limited amount of money through the grant, but there is a consortium in Hackney that needs to do 150 energy efficiency kind of assessments next year through the business program, and we're working with them to make sure that their definition of business is open to also voluntary sector organizations. They are doing a lot of work and might not be able to afford measures. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to hear a little bit more and be a little bit more involved in how Hackney is delivering the net zero program. And a reminder, we have the other grant scheme that is for residents, which I shared last time. That will be in the newsletter again as well. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Marcella. Yeah, all that stuff is in the newsletter. So yeah, please do have a look and share it with your networks as well. Do we have any questions for Marcella about any of that? About either of the Claire?
Yeah. How long does a lease need to be?
I mean, there isn't a definition. We're trying to be as flexible as possible. So if you look at the grant materials, I'll share the link for the website. There is a prospectus that gives details. It doesn't say, and it's a conversation we're having as a team because it's the second round of the scheme, whether actually if you had a lease for a few years, but then you had to move before your solar panels, which solar panels are for 25 years average. If you had to move before, is there a way that we would get the solar panels back? Would the owner of the building then have to pay some money back to the council to keep the panels? So we're trying to do everything we can to not limit organizations from applying, because we know a lot of groups cannot own their building in Hackney and don't own the building in Hackney. So I think we are still encouraging people. Actually, I didn't say this, but the application process will be in 2 phases. Initially, we want you to fill in a very short interest form to say, yes, I'm interested. I think that we would benefit from something like this. This is what our organization does. Then we'll put you in touch with a community energy group that also apply to say, yes, we are operating in Hackney and we want to work with VCS organizations in Hackney to make this happen. And then there will be the proper application process that the community energy group will sit with you to look at. You know, we need to ask about carbon, how much carbon are you going to save, all that kind of stuff. But through that process of interest, we will be having to analyze and say, actually, there is a lot of organizations that are applying who don't have the long-term lease. It will be for us to then to find a way of making it work. So we're saying, yes, if you are on a 1-year lease, it's quite limited possibly, because a lot of the measures are, you know, they do impact on the building. So, you know, you might get insulation into the wall, you might have to get a new boiler, things that will benefit then whoever owns the building. And we want to reduce the chance that some big corporate that owns a lot of buildings will end up getting all the benefits in the long term. But the idea is to really try to support organizations, and, you know, especially the organizations that are smaller that might not have this kind of financial, you know, structure to be able to have a long-term lease and own the building. So I think it will give us a drive to then find other opportunities, because Hackney is saying everyone needs to be working towards net zero. Hackney controls 5% of emissions in the borough. 95% is everyone else in Hackney. So, you know, I think it's for us to try and think about how can we then support all these organizations in that journey, because we can't expect everyone to just go and do it by themselves. So I would encourage everyone to kind of come forward. And, you know, I came into the team with this commitment that we're going to do our best to help everyone that applies.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcella. Does someone else have any other questions about any of that, or maybe just about the general sort of net zero policy at Hackney? No.
Good, because I don't know.
I was going to say, I don't
about
know
the
if that's your entire brief.
I have to take a document. I haven't read yet.
You on the spot there. Pauline, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I just want to quickly ask if someone was interested and they were struggling to complete the application form, you know, just so they're saying the right things and making sure that their application does get through the process. Have we got someone, who can they contact for help?
Yeah, so I will be running several, I mean, there is a booklet with a list of opportunities to come and ask questions, dropping sessions online at different times, calling me on this number, coming in on a day that I'll be here in the building. But also the actual application process will be done in partnership with a community energy group. That is, we're working with these groups to make sure that they are very inclusive. They're working with all groups in Hackney. And that's why we are going to be doing the matching process. They are based in the community, but we don't want, because they're based in Stoke Newington, they only work with communities, organizations around there. So we'll be doing the matching process. And big part of the questions we ask them is this: what's your experience of engaging? How are you going to work in partnership? The idea is that is a partnership between the organization that's going to benefit and this community group that will help you fill in the application form. But as a team, we will be available to kind of support throughout the process.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Abby.
Thanks for all that info, Marcella. I just wanted to flag verbally, in case there are people on the call who aren't able to follow the chat, but I put the link in the chat for kind of the landing page for the Community Energy Fund. And there's a really helpful section that's hyperlinked that's called Support for Applicants, that links to what Marcella was just mentioning.
Yeah, and in that page, you have a link if you want to register to attend the launch event. We're asking people to register just so we can make sure we cater for the diets, for the accessibility needs, and also control for numbers. But yeah, it's very informal. And then there is also some of the grant documents, kind of general information about what the grant is for, what kind of things you might be looking at doing in your buildings. And some case studies of organizations that benefited from the grant last year and how they worked with these community groups to achieve kind of carbon savings and savings on their energy bills.
Thanks, Marcella. That was all really, really useful. Any other questions, Marcella? No? Okay. Well, yeah, as I said earlier, all that info is in the newsletter, so you've got it all there for reference. And I'm going to hand back to Jenny.
Thanks, John. That's a great initiative. Marcella, thanks for coming to speak to us about it. I wanted to introduce a few people who have joined us today, and I'm hoping that Alex Chase doesn't mind me starting with him, because I know he doesn't, he's not able to stay for that much longer. Alex has recently joined us as the Hackney Food Network Coordinator, which we're really excited about. So I don't know whether, Alex, you're able to, you're in a position to sort of just introduce yourself and say hello to this group, because I'm sure that this is a group that you're going to be wanting to work with and that links in and intersects with the Food Network. If you're not, I can come back to you. So I didn't actually mention that I was going to be bringing you in to introduce you. So so no problem if you're using this opportunity to multitask as well. I can come back to you. The other person I wanted to introduce you to was Emma from Citizens Online, who is joining us to do a piece of work on digital inclusion, which we're really excited about. And I think Emma's going to come back and give a presentation at a later date. But would you like to introduce yourself and, yeah, briefly say what you'll be working on?
Great, thanks.
Oh no, we can't hear you.
Damn.
Oh, we could hear that actually.
Yeah, we did. We got you back then. Carry on.
Perfect timing. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I've been having a bit of internet problems today, which is great when working on digital inclusion. It just shows how everybody will have some level of challenges with that. Great. So yeah, I'm from a charity called Citizens Online. Can you still hear me? Yeah, great. And yeah, we've started working with Hackney Council. We're going to do some research on finding out exactly who's providing in the borough at the moment. And Max, I've already done a note. I was glad to hear you said you're providing Sims in the Second Chance Cafe. So we're kind of finding about any and every type of support that's going on, whether it's helping people with skills, whether it's providing free Wi-Fi or devices or Sims, and finding out where the gaps are in support as well, in terms of whether there's certain areas that don't have support or certain resident groups who might need more support. And we're helping to develop digital champion in the borough as well. But like I said, we've only started this week, so it's very early stages. And like Jenny said, I'll come back probably in the next one or it's a bit more about the work. Great, and thanks.
You lost that last little bit, Emma. If you could just repeat that last little bit. You said you would come back probably. I know
in the next the one after, so in a couple of weeks or in a month to
Right.
share more, and we can share more information through the newsletter then as well.
Perfect, thank you. And I think Idia's, I think Penny from Idia's Community Kitchen has put in the chat that they're part of the Data and Device Banks now
Brilliant.
through Good Things Foundation. And I know many of those that join this call are doing lots of great stuff around this. So we'll be really pleased to hear about the work that you're doing. So we're really, really pleased about that. Thanks, Emma. We'll see you again soon. And then we have Seth from Shoreditch Trust, who I think wanted to share something or ask something of the group. Please do come in.
Yeah, just a quick one, really. I might see if I can just share my screen. If I just click present now, let's see if it works. Yeah, okay. Can you see that? You able to see that at all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just come to really introduce two newish services that we're offering at Shoreditch Trust. For those of you that don't know, Shoreditch Trust offers a wide range of programs. We generally work with people with long-term health conditions. We've started a advice and assistance service that's been commissioned by the council, and it's in partnership with a whole range of other service providers. We run, it's two different parts of our organization run these services. So I work for the Stroke Project, and we run a clinic on Tuesdays and Fridays. We tend to prioritize our pre-existing clients, but feel free to get in touch with us if you think there's someone who could benefit from support. That would include filling in forms, benefits applications, sorting through bills, pretty sort of wide range, really. My colleague Jane, who has been working with sort of this project called Bump Buddies over the years, with women and children, she also has a clinic which I have just shared on the screen here on Tuesdays at the St. Peter de Beauvoir Church. Similar sort of thing. Also sort of booking in appointments if possible, so that people don't turn up and aren't able to be seen. And it's got her contact information on that material as well. So I'll share all those details for those of you that think any of your clients could benefit from either of those services. I'm also hoping you might not be able to see this. Let me see if I can share my other screen. Can you see that? If I click share this tab, is that coming across?
Yeah. The Waterhouse.
Yeah, Waterhouse, exactly. So this is a new service being offered by the restaurant that is part of our charity called the Waterhouse Restaurant on Orsman Road, just off Kingsland Road. And the roots of this service started during lockdown COVID, where the restaurant delivered cooked meals to residents of Hackney in the city. And it became, when we came out of lockdown, it sort of transitioned into being a once weekly lunch club at the restaurant where people can come and pay as little or nothing, if whatever suits their means, really. And that has now changed to being every day of the week. So it's not a referral basis at all. People can just turn up between 12 and 2:30 and they can access the community table meal. We encourage people to contribute if they can, and that goes towards someone else having a free meal instead. But very much people can come and have a hot, freshly cooked meal without paying anything at all. So I'm just here to sort of promote that new service, as it's sort of only a few weeks old that we've started opening that up to Monday to Thursday as well as the Friday. So yeah, please feel free to tell people you know, or any clients that you work with who might be suffering from food poverty, or and they're welcome to come on down. So yeah, that's the two services. If anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to let me know.
I think Charlie has his hand up. Thanks so much, Seth. That's great to hear. Monday to Friday. That's amazing.
Hi, Seth. Yeah, that is a great offer. Is the do you know what the kind of time frame of that continuing offer is, kind of going forward into kind of through winter?
Well, it's quite early stages. I think we had a little bit of funding that we thought could be best used in this way. So we're really trying to see if we can maximize the offering as much as possible, and see if we start to get people come through the doors on a daily basis. I think it's part of potentially a new strategy that we're going to be looking into, more so relating to food inequality more generally. There's some schemes that we're opening up with local primary schools where we deliver meals for those school children. So I can't say exactly how long it's going to be, but it's something they're really, really passionate about implementing on a sort of permanent basis going forwards. But yeah, very much sort of trial periods at the moment.
I guess the other question, thank you, Seth. That's totally understandable. I guess the other question is, Hackney, there's also a food network, which unfortunately Alex had to, I think Alex has jumped off the call, unfortunately, because I know you're doing anything now. But would Shoreditch Trust, I think some of you are connected to that mailing list. I don't know if you are added to that mailing list to be linked into our food poverty network. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I don't run the project myself, but I think it's definitely something that would help us to sort of establish some roots in that area. So we'd love to chat further about that, and hopefully sort of synchronize those efforts. But yeah, that sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll follow up. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Great, thank you. And I also wanted to invite Tom Baltrop to talk about the work that he's doing. I know you introduced yourself in the chat, didn't you? But yeah, over to you.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm a Hackney resident. I actually live just near the Waterhouse, so I can vouch. It's a really great place. I've got a couple of slides, if that's okay. As I mentioned, we are working with the Greater London Authority. We've received funding from them to run a pilot in London, and our hope is that it'll be with Hackney. We're still discussing that at the moment. But essentially what we are is an app that helps people who are struggling with their finances stay on top of their bills and out of problem debt. We do that by giving them an overview of all of their finances in one place for the first time, and then analyzing their financial data alongside their personal circumstances, with the aim of then recommending and providing access to the most suitable tools and services. So here we've got an example of a calculator that helps people follow a debt repayment strategy. We can also help signpost people to social tariffs, for example, or indeed government benefits. I know that there's a lot of organizations that sit down with people and do this, and this is a way of helping people do that from their own home. And then we also have a monthly bills tracker, so showing people all of the money that's going in and out of their account, helping them cancel subscriptions they don't need, or if they are struggling to pay a bill, encourage them to get in touch with the right organizations to help resolve that. Where people are struggling and get into more difficulty, we look to signpost them to the right local or national support services. So hearing you all speak today has been great, because I'd love to find a way to work with more of you. We can detect people that have run out of money and are potentially, need access to food, or whether they're at risk of becoming homeless, or, they need to be put in touch with a local money advice service. So yeah, really great to meet everyone today, and great to hear about all the good stuff that's going on. And everyone has any questions, do please get in touch. I see got one question about when it's launched. We're currently going through regulation with the FCA, so we're aiming to launch later this year. We will run a small pilot with a council in London. We're aiming to do that with about 1,000 people. Claire, I think you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Is this app going to be in other languages or just English?
So at the moment, I got asked this by all the London councils. At the moment, we're just starting out, so we have to prove that the app works, make sure it's working in English, and then we would look to support other languages. So language is an area that, to begin with, it's just English. The other thing we get asked a lot is around digital exclusion. Obviously, not everyone has access to a smartphone, and there are going to be some quite complex cases. So we're not going to replace any of the services that already exist. It's about helping access the people that do have access to a smartphone. And typically they are the people we expect to be more indebted. The sort of younger people typically have a higher proportion of debt. But we're definitely not going to be able to help everyone. And that's why we sort of see ourselves sitting alongside all of the other local services.
Like, the other question was a bit about digital inclusion, but actually working with like around 500 people a month now, and they actually mostly quite a lot do have smartphones, but they just don't know how to use them. So how user friendly is the app?
So my co-founder Nick, he spent the last 10 years designing and building products for the financially vulnerable. So it should be easy to use. We've had some really good reception so far from people who've tested it. We are also looking to implement plain English to make sure it is as easy to understand as possible. And there is new regulation brought in by the FCA, which means we have to show good customer outcomes for all, including vulnerable people. So there's a lot of work going in behind the scenes to help address that.
And one more question, sorry. How long would the process be? So, for example, if I was sitting with someone that wanted to use this service and help them do this, how long would it take?
So you can get set up in a matter of minutes. I'm thinking like 2 or 3 minutes here. It's creating an account, so logging in, answering a few questions about your circumstances. So what's your main financial source of financial difficulty? That helps with some initial signposting, and then they connect their bank accounts using open banking, which is relatively straightforward process if you have your bank account on your phone. If they don't, they can do it manually. But that's less effective as they then have to keep updating that. And then once they've got it set up, they don't have to, if we use open banking, they can just log back in and it's all updated for them using their financial data, their live spending habits. And if we notice things have changed, if someone hasn't paid their rent for a few months, if someone's got into problem debt, we can automatically signpost them to local support services. So really trying to make it as easy to use as possible. And so far the feedback's been really positive, but we're definitely keen to work with local organizations and test it out in real life.
And what happens with all their data when they're putting it on this app? Sorry, the last question that was, sorry. Because I think a lot of people we work with would fear this because of that. Yeah. When you just mentioned accessing their bank accounts, I think they'd have a slight panic about that and not want to engage in this support. Yeah, so that there's going to understandably a lot of people are fearful about engaging with their finances, regardless whether it's online or offline. The data is held securely in our servers. We don't share any information with third parties without their permission. The only data we share is anonymized. So if we work with a council, we can show what percentage of their people are in distress, for example. Where it's beneficial for them to share their data, we'd let them make that decision. So for example, if they've got problem debt, we can pre-populate an income and expense form that they can share with a debt charity. They would then download that and decide whether they want to send it via email or so. We understand that we've got to be careful with the data, but there are benefits for us being able to access that and help people understand what their situation is and what support is out there. So far, we haven't had any complaints or issues with people who've been testing it. I think cost of living crisis means that people are looking for solutions and are more open to using technology as they maybe would have been before. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
So I was going to ask Tom, so what can this group, what would be helpful for you to hear from this group at this point in the development of it? Because I suppose Titlayo, I don't know if you wanted to come in. It sounds like you were quite enthusiastic about it, and I know that you work in the long COVID service, don't you? So I guess there's there are people here who are kind of obviously quite interested and think there might be some benefit to the residents they're working with. How might people get involved if they want, if they, you know, did you want to come in, Titilayo?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the introduction, I thought, wow, this seems like a good initiative that because most of the clients we work with have got debt problems. Yes, you know, some of them are not working, some of them are really struggling. So I was thinking that, okay, so how can people get involved with this? How can they, you know, have access, and do they need service providers to support them through this? Like, if I'm going to recommend this, would they need my support to be able to, to have the assurance that this is going to get them somewhere? And another thing I wanted to know is, you talked about they will be signposted to getting benefits if they're not. So some of them are already getting benefits, but it's just that they still have issues, you know, being on top of their debt. So how would they help them?
So first question is how do they get access, and do they need sort of service providers to help them? So it first and foremost depends whether Hackney Council sort of push ahead and say, yeah, we're happy to run this pilot. Once we have that, then we will be looking for people to come and be part of this pilot. And we, you know, if anyone is interested and thinks the people they're dealing with might benefit from this, and, you know, I'll put my email in the chat, please do let me know. In terms of how they get access, part of that will be, we'll set up a waiting list, people will register their details, and then we'll contact them to let them know they're part of the service, part of the pilot. Our app is designed to hopefully not need support, direct support from other people, but we recognize that's not always going to be the case. So if there are organizations that are willing to, you know, sit down and help someone with that initial onboarding process, registration process, that'd be great. I'm really interested to learn more about that. Signposting, again, we're looking for that we can monitor for vulnerabilities. You mentioned employment. So if we detect someone doesn't have an income, we've already in touch with an employment scheme in central London that would cover Hackney. So there are ways where we can surface information to people based on the vulnerabilities that we detect. And again, if there are people here who think their service might be relevant to people in Hackney, which all of them are, but if they want to be involved, you know, do let me know, and we'd love to see how we can accommodate that.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Me again, sorry. So, you know, it's, you say signposting for support. How about people that are like no recall to public funds? What sort of support would there be for them then, if we help them get on board with this, for example, and help them through the process? What would your signposting be for that? Because you just mentioned benefits, but if they are no recall to public funds, then they can't get them. So what other support is there? Sorry.
That might be a bigger question than for Tom. That might be a question for the whole group. I think, I mean, I think someone mentioned earlier, I think Charlie mentioned the Hackney Migrant Centre. So there is a hardship fund that John Davis on the call has worked with the Hackney Migrant Centre to set up. So there's that kind of crisis support there, and they provide some advice as well. But, you know, I think there is an assumption that there is, because people have, you know, when people have no recourse to public funds, that there aren't services that can support them. But actually, I think that's a bit of a myth. In some, you know, there are lots of things that our services can do to support families and you know, adults. Obviously, it's limited in terms of the benefit support, and it needs, but it sounds like the app would need to feed in local information about what those local services are, as well as those national bits. But it would be more limited, of course it would, Claire, and I guess that's and language barriers might well be an issue as well.
Yeah, I mean we're not a magic solution. We're not going to be able to help everyone, but it's about beginning that conversation, seeing who we can help, and listening to feedback and seeing what changes we need to make. There's one question earlier about, you know, if people are already accessing benefits, but not all of their benefits. That is something that we can assess, looking at their financial data, see what benefits they're receiving, and then pre-populate their form to sort of encourage them to you know, go out and get the rest of what they're entitled to.
Sorry, I asked. It's just that I am interested in this, and I do think it's a positive service, and it's definitely something that my team could work with the community with, because they trust us, so they would happily do this process with us. I'd just like to ask loads of questions before can bring it to them, so I know what I'm telling people about. So that's why, sorry, I'll take your email and I'll have loads more for you.
Yeah, no, please do, because there's things that you're aware of that we haven't even thought about yet, to be honest. So we love engaging with people like yourself that are passionate and have got a lot more experience in some of these spaces than we do.
Yeah,
All right,
sounds like it would be really good. It would be really useful for you to follow up with Claire and Titilayo as well in terms of the sort of health, and because it is it's got to work for work for these
people. Yeah.
And but it's great. It's great. I think the challenge is why you're here, isn't it, Tom? It's kind of you're joining this session because you want to make sure that this works for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no point us sitting in a room trying to figure it out, because we're never going to get there by ourselves.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of expertise in this space and a lot of people who are doing this work day in, day out. I haven't brought Shahidul in, but Shahidul is a bit of an expert in this area. And then there's the Money Hub colleagues. We've got Pauline on the call, so we probably haven't got time to dig much further into it. But yeah, do come back and we'll keep talking. Marcella.
Yeah, just a quick one actually. Yeah, I think I'm with Claire that this will be very useful, but there is a bunch of people that we work with that would struggle to trust the system. I'm wondering, do we have already as a council a fact sheet of what financial support is available? Say that, community groups then are trying to promote this service, but people are like, oh, I don't trust it. But if they're willing enough to say, oh, I want to try because maybe they are struggling with finance, do we have something that is like, okay, but there is all this offline things that you can do instead? If we don't have maybe something that we can put together, because I know there's been lots of organizations that presented in this forum before about services that they offer in Hackney. So maybe like we used to do with the food projects, we can have some for financial advice and support that is can be printed.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what the latest is in terms of the booklet that you kick-started, Marcella, that our external comms team, Martin Mallon, was coming regularly to this meeting. So I need to get an update on that. But I think we do want to evolve the way we communicate with residents about what support is available. And I think there is a discussion that I think there are key touch points in people's lives as well, where they do come unstuck, where people might get into debt or get in a muddle with their benefits. That is something that people need to navigate, and whether it's, and it might be worth us thinking about collectively sort of bringing together what we know works and helps, for people at key touch points. So Zoe and I were talking about, that people, when they're moved into social housing from temporary accommodation, sometimes, there's often a lot of things you need to sort out, or if a child or people who have not previously had a child and then, or a child comes into their care or a child leaves their care. I think those sorts of touch points in people's lives, or bereavement, can be key points where there's a lot of things to sort out, a lot of benefit changes, a lot of debt stuff that can happen, and whether we need to kind of provide a bit of a roadmap for residents that's available online or in a paper format. But I think that, some of that.
Yeah, this is very useful. I listened to a podcast yesterday that was talking about the cost when you get diagnosed with cancer. Actually, you would think that support is available, and someone's saying they're £700 off every month just by the default of having a diagnosis. And I guess, Tom, maybe just to understand, this is for people already in debt. Are you guys thinking about people that might want to avoid getting into that? Because the climate right now, a lot of people might not be in debt, but it means they're not eating, they're not doing anything else. So is there going to be resources in this app that is more about financial awareness? Because I don't think it's something that people are taught, like, generally. And in the UK is a culture of making people get into debt. I find, as someone who came from abroad, is like, it wants you to be into debt, I think, the society.
Yeah, absolutely. The sort of core part of the app is just helping people manage their money. So even if they're not in debt, it's about providing that support, helping them stay on top of their finances, and it potentially giving them a warning if we say, look, actually, if you carry on like this, you will end up in debt. So let's try and find some ways to avoid that happening.
No, it's really helpful, and I've seen that Shahidul's already met with you, and that's and it's given thumbs up for the potential of this app as well. So it's so good to hear. But I think there is something about those key touch points, isn't there, that you know, when people have got enough on their plate and they're really overwhelmed, and the last thing they need is to be dealing with a whole load of paperwork, and knowing that you have to go to multiple different services to get all of that sorted. And I think we're lucky that we've got the Money Hub doing a lot of that integrated work at the moment. But even then, that doesn't cover everything, does it? Because it's still the emergency crisis pots that we manage and the things that we can signpost to. And a lot of those solutions are held within the community, like Claire was talking about, in terms of people with no recourse to public funds. A lot of those supports are not going to come from those benefits. So I think it's I think a lot of the answers and solutions are in this space. So we really appreciate you keeping on coming back and sharing it. And I wanted to invite anyone else who might have any updates on what you are providing at the moment, or any insight that you wanted to share. We only have 13 minutes left. I do sometimes put people on the spot, but I will try not to do that if I can if I can help it. But we always really just love to hear about what people are working on, what people are providing. I know we've got Hannah on the call, which is great, from Miss Gav, who do really amazing work in the Heredia community. We've got Paulette from Young Hackney, I think. Haven't seen you for ages. I've never met Valerie before, but lovely to have you on the call. And Alex Dragan, I don't know if we had an introduction from you. Do you want to, Paulette, you're clapping, that's given me a sign that I'm going to bring you in. Do you want to, what's going on with Young Hackney? What do people need to know? How's it going?
I don't know what you need to know, but we are going into our half-term program at the hubs. So if you've got young people who are between 6 and 18, they can either attend the hub up at Manor House called The Edge, or down in central south of the borough, we have the Forest Road Youth Hub. If you go to our website, you can also find lots of activities for young people, from targeted work right through to participation. Please visit the website, younghackney.com.
Brilliant. Yeah, it'd be great to have you back with any colleagues as well that you want to kind of talk about the Young Hackney offer as well, because I know that there's so many layers of support that and activities, isn't there? And I know that some of our community partners provide support from, I think, wasn't it Charlie went to an event at the Edge that Euphemia from Woodbury Aid was involved with, and does filmmaking from there. So I know there's just loads going on in the Young Hackney hubs, but also out of the schools, and sometimes people aren't always aware of it. So it's really good to.
Yeah, and I did forget to mention it's up to 25 with SEN and special educational needs and disabilities.
Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Great. Anyone else want to talk about what they're providing? Actually, Claire Farigi, I'm going to put you on the spot because we've heard you asking questions, but I know you are working, you're always providing loads of support all over the place in Hackney, aren't you? And the Together Better Together programme is just one of the many strings to your bow, isn't it?
Hello, I'm trying to hide off the camera because I work from home today and I'm actually sitting on my bed, but it's fine.
Right.
Keep jumping in. I never stop talking. Together Better has been going for nearly 3 years now, and we're based in 16 GP surgeries across Hackney. We've been doing a lot of collaboration with Hackney lately, and we appreciate the support we're getting. So the Money Hub has been coming down to our surgeries to help patients. They've provided us with a citizen's advice worker that's 1 day a week that's working at our surgeries, which is amazing. And we're just starting with Charlie. We're going to have some housing surgeries as well in our surgeries. So we have 78 activities free a week now across the borough.
Wow.
In the 16 GP surgeries, and we are Hackney wide now, so anyone that's registered in a GP surgery across Hackney can attend the activities, can join. I mean, we do lots of one-to-one support, and it's about relationship building. All community work is about relationship building, so they have a lot of trust in us. So anyone we invite in is because we trust them and we've questioned them to death to find out what's the benefit for the patients. But it's going really well. You know, the outcomes are amazing. That's why we're still funding, hopefully, April. It's just about supporting patients or supporting people to make changes, meet new people, engage and find out. We're really bringing the services to them so they can find out what's happening in the community, because there is a lot on offer in Hackney. We're very lucky in that way, but people just don't know about it. So you've got to constantly show them or help them access the service because they don't know how to do it. So that's what we're working on at the moment, is bringing people in to show them how to access all the great stuff that is happening in Hackney.
It's amazing. You've grown so fast in that piece of work.
I know, I'm
you?
so sick of recruiting, honestly.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic to be able to and it's community led, isn't it? And shaped by
completely all of the 78 activities I was talking about, they're all led by volunteers. So they're all patients from surgeries that share their skills with patients. So everything is peer to peer. Anyone can join in, anyone come along with an idea and we'll help them make it happen.
Brilliant. And what do you need from what partnerships do you need and want to develop? You must have all sorts of things coming up through those conversations with residents. And
we do. I think, you know, the cost of living crisis has affected everybody. And again, look, I hear of so many, even like being here of so many services available. It's really about trying to package it in a simpler term so people trust that it's something positive for them. So I think a lot of our time is spent now. I mean, they're engaging in stuff, they're running these activities themselves, they're becoming really independent, they're growing in confidence, they're fantastic volunteers, more people are getting involved weekly. It's brilliant like that. Always spread the word about what we do and anyone's welcome. But it's really about letting people know what is available for them so no one misses out on the opportunities that is there. So that's what I think I've been concentrating on the past 8 months, is talking to other organisations, services, finding out what they do and finding a better way to deliver what is offered to the patients so they know how to access it more simply. Don't fear it, it's a help.
Exactly. And I mean, this is what we're trying to do in this meeting, and I think people seem to find it valuable each time, so we keep doing it. So but I think it is really hard. Listings and the internet, you'd think that, you know, but there's a lot going on and it's hard to bring it to life, isn't it? So it's only when people talk about it and hearing Max's description on what it's like to come to the, you know, it really brings it to life, hearing these presentations and hearing what the ethos is behind the organisation, and it gives you an assurance that if you send somebody in that direction that they're going to be well received and looked after, then it's not just going to be something that's going to feel really difficult, another difficult experience for them, isn't it? But brilliant, really good to have you here, Claire. And if you've ever got any ideas of things that your residents want to hear about, given that you're in touch with so many, let us know what we should be platforming here. Same with everyone on the call. If there are things you think we need to be bringing in, we we'll proactively try and call people in. We're hoping that our community infrastructure organisations will all come and present on the great work they do. We had Angela from Grow Baby in Ivy Street last time, which was brilliant. Sorry, I think Charlie and then Marcella.
I just wanted to give Claire a shout out as well for adapting some of the resources that people put together in ways that residents can read it and just like break down what is quite a lot of complicated information really well. So VCH and Claire do that brilliantly. I thought it was just to kind of give you another shout out.
I think Charlie's sick of me today.
No, that's great. Shahidul, Marcella, sorry, Shahidul, go for it.
I was just going to say, if we can get Rumi down from JCP, because managed migration is moving ahead. I've heard they've started sending migration letters to couples on tax credits.
Right. Yeah, you're a bit muffled there, but that's job
I
centre.
couldn't hear it. Yeah, sorry.
I think Shahid was saying the managed migration to use universal credit is a big issue at the moment facing residents. So having someone from the Job Centre Plus in would be a good idea. Have you got the right person for us on that, Shahid? Or could you?
I think she's been here before. Ume,
yeah.
I've got the contact.
Yeah, let's see if we can get some updated information and any I suppose anyone on the call, maybe yeah, if any insight you've got, Shahidul, and the Money Hub as well on what we can be advising people to do to support residents with that would be great. It's a really good shout. Thanks, Shahidul. Pauline?
Oh, hi. Just to veer off the topic a little bit, I've got a resident that I'm trying to support, and she's 73. Her granddaughter's moved in to live with her. She's not eligible for any benefits because she can go back home, but she can't be at home. She doesn't want to. I've spoken to social services, and because of those reasons, there's nothing there. I just wondered if there were anybody knew of any grants or anything that I could get for grandma, even just for a little while, to help her support the granddaughter for school and stuff. I've done like food voucher and stuff like that, but that's not sustainable. I just wondered if there was anything anyone had.
That's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, I know that the Hackney parochial fund have small grants, don't they, for people in real destitution and hardship, but I don't know whether Paulette from Young Hackney knows have you had conversations with the early help?
Yes, I've spoken to Claire at great length, and we explored a few options, but she just doesn't fit those categories. And Claire spoke to Mum, and she's happy to have her, but it's the daughter that doesn't want to be home, so it makes it a little bit more tricky.
That's a tough one. People falling between the cracks and not being eligible for the bits that any ideas, anyone? If I can think of anyone to put you in touch with, Pauline, I will. But certainly, I mean, our network of food partners, and as you've heard from, there are open offers around food and other material supports. There are, I can't, I can't think of any solutions for you on that one, and I'm not sure if you've already been in touch with the Early Help Hub. I don't think they would know. They would have all that knowledge as well about what's available through the system. So I suppose unfortunately it is then a situation where it's voluntary sector support, or struggling and trying to get her back home. But that's tough one, because you want to be able to help, don't you, and solve the problem.
Yeah, so I think once I spoke to Claire, and my options are just trying to see where I can get her food stuff so she can have food, and the money that she would use for food, she can use that to sort of do other things. That's kind of how I'm trying to support her. So I see how that goes. Yeah, I see how it goes.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Young Hackney, things that there are a lot of free, like the holiday activities, things that take the pressure off the financial the family financial income as well, isn't it? It's making use of the kind of community resources, but not easy to reduce the financial pressure. But I've just seen Shahid was put in the chat about the job centre DWP have started to send migration letters around migration to universal credit to couples with tax credits this month. As part of the migration to universal credit. So there are also leaflets telling people that tax credits are ending. So if people apply at the wrong time, they could lose out on the transitional protection element. So that sounds quite urgent for us to understand better, so we can get the message out to people, because when residents are distressed by that message and don't know what to do about it, it'd be great if we all knew. If we can get something from Ume in writing that we can include in the newsletter on that, it sounds like it would be worth doing, doesn't it, John? So if we can get something even ahead of a presentation, we'll do that. So look out for that. bear that in mind. Thank you, Shahido. I think that's a really important one. Gosh, we've run out of time. You'd think that an hour and a half wouldn't fly by, but it's always just such a pleasure. Thank you so much to our presenters, contributors, for all of you that have stayed with us, and to John and the team as well. I didn't actually get a chance to put Hannah Addison Kay on the spot, but I'm just going to mention her name. Hannah's joined us as one of our system conveners, working alongside Charlie. Oh, there you are. Great. Do you want to just say a quick hello? And I didn't want to really put you on the spot, but I didn't want to miss introducing you either. So
that's okay. Yeah, it's really nice to be here. I've joined one of these before actually, but I think I was off camera then. This is like in my last role. Yeah, so it's really interesting presentations. It's great, so many people and so much going on. But yeah, I'm new in Jenny's team as a system convener working with Charlie. Nice to meet you all.
And with Abby as well, who you heard from. So yeah, the team are slightly larger now, so we can do more of this linking and thinking together. So do give us a shout if you've got ideas about how we can strengthen this session and the support around community partners who are working with residents who are equipping frontline staff and all that we can do there as part of this big challenge that we're all facing. But again, thank you so much. And yeah, great to see some new faces. I hope you'll come back, and please do share widely as always. Thank you. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.